Good morning. You'd think it was getting close to Thanksgiving with that particular set of songs, and the fact that my title up there says, "Are you thankful?" right now. And you'll see why I kind of chose that title. Actually, Tony called and asked me for a title, and I'm much better at titling other people's sermons than my own. Like, Dean, your title last week was Fear, Greed, and Bigger Barns. That's how it came out. I guess you've heard the story of the two guys that were walking through a field one day, and when they're right about out in the middle of the field, they look over and they have got the attention of a big, angry bull. And the bull has decided to give them its full attention by running at them. So they took off running, but the bull was catching up. He was catching up fast. And so one of them shouted to the other, "Hey, put up a prayer, John, we're in for it." And, John answered, "I can't, I've never prayed in public in my life." He says, but your daddy was a preacher. You must have heard something. And he said, "So pray, John, that bull's catching up." And he's saying, "All right, I'll say the only prayer that I can remember. My father used to say this, 'Oh Lord, for what we are about to receive, make us truly thankful.'" Yeah, right. Well, Thanksgiving is this coming week. And so since I've got the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I chose to make mine on Thanksgiving. And so that'll leave something else for Tony, or he could speak about Thanksgiving again as well. So I was very creative in deciding this would be my topic today. So thinking about Thanksgiving, hopefully this is not just a time to give thanks, but hopefully it's a time to feel thankful. Sometimes, though, it's kind of hard to achieve, especially this year. There's a lot of people out there that are probably not feeling especially thankful. Sometimes the bulls really are catching up with us. Now, personally, I'm not one of those people who sends a lot of letters, but some people do. People like to send out seasonal letters that catch everybody on what they've been doing, and also for seasonal messages like Christmas or Thanksgiving. I never have been one to do that. As a matter of fact, when I got back from Vietnam, there's a lot of people out that want to hit me because I think I wrote a total of 6 letters the entire time I was in the country. And, sometimes a place where I was actually was on the news too. But I was okay, so, I knew I was okay. But you send out these letters, they say, "Well, have a great Thanksgiving. Hope you have a pleasant time with your family." Things like that. But as you sit down to write these, if you put a little something personal in there, and it may occur to us that, like our friend Mary, her son was just killed in an automobile accident, and his girlfriend is in a coma, and they don't know if she's going to wake up. Now, this is mythical. I don't know somebody like this, but you can think that there's a lot of people that sometimes it's hard to give thanks. What if one of your friends, and I know that there are people here who know people from Northern California, you don't know where your friends have gone. They may be among the missing, or they may have nothing to return to, the people that you do know. And sometimes it's hard to give thanks. You We know people who, like I'll call him Joe, but struggling, with his mother who doesn't remember her son Joe. We're told the economy is getting better, and it is, but there's still a lot of people out there who are unemployed or underemployed. Look at how many years it's been since the attacks on September 11th. But we still have threats. It's changed our entire outlook and how we travel through airports. Everything has changed. We still have those threats hanging over us. And we fought a war in Iraq, but we're still fighting a war in Iraq. It's been a long time, and our soldiers are still dying. Sometimes it's hard. And yet, haven't we just heard sermons where Jesus is quoted as saying, "Don't worry about your life"? Well, we don't need to worry about our lives because Jesus is there. But what is your Thanksgiving like? Is your Thanksgiving going to be joy and gratitude? Or are you going to have anxiety and worry? Sometimes it is difficult to follow those instructions of Jesus and to not worry about our lives. That's because we're people. Paul, in his letter to the Philippians, said something very similar, because he said, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice." Paul was always giving thanks to God. In another letter he wrote in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." And before you say, well, that's easy for somebody like Paul, he's a spiritual giant. What about Jesus? He was certainly a spiritual giant. Like, he came from heaven before he came here. But they certainly didn't have it simple. We really need to think that one over again if you think that at all. Paul, talked about how difficult his life was. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 to 28, talk about how it wasn't easy. He says, "I have worked hard. I've been in prison more frequently, been flogged more severely, and have been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I have been constantly on the move. I have been in danger from rivers, in danger from bandits, in danger from my own countrymen, in danger from the Gentiles, in danger in the city, in danger in the country, in danger at sea, and in danger from false brothers. I've labored and toiled and have often gone without sleep. I have known hunger and thirst and have often gone without food. I've been cold and naked. Besides everything else, I face daily the pressure of my concern for all the churches." So he said, on top of all this stuff, I got this job, and I have to take care of you folks. Yet, this is the guy who wrote, "Give thanks always." He meant that we should be thankful when things are going great, but it also meant that we should be thankful when things are not going our way. Now, here comes the challenge. We often sing a song in worship called "Blessed Be Your Name." You know the one I'm talking about? It says, "Blessed be your name in the land that's plentiful, where your streams of abundance flow, blessed be your name." But then it goes right on in the next phrase. It says, "Blessed be your name when I'm found in the desert place, though I walk through the wilderness, blessed be your name." And it's blessed be the name of the Lord, blessed be your name. Blessed be your name when the sun's shining down on me, when the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name on the road marked with suffering. Though there's pain in the offering, blessed be your name. Well, sometimes it's hard to be thankful. It's hard to be thankful when we have a family member who passes away. It's hard to be thankful when our health is threatened, and some of us have been through that. You know, there's people who are also, people lose jobs, they go through divorces, face failures in life, and yet Paul wrote, "Give thanks in all circumstances." Paul knew hard times, and he knew he should give thanks to God even in the most difficult of situations. Well, it's difficult to be thankful in all situations. There was a Scottish minister named Alexander White, known for his uplifting prayers in the pulpit. He always found something for which to be grateful. So one Sunday morning, the weather was so gloomy that one church member thought to himself, "You know, the preacher sure won't think of anything to thank the Lord for today, because it's a wretched day." Much to his surprise, however, White began by saying, "We thank thee, O Lord, that it's not always like this." That is an important thing for us to remember, isn't it? Nothing lasts forever, whether it's the good times or the bad times. I mean, they're either going to get worse or they're going to get better. Nothing stays the same. And if the ultimate worse is that we die, we know that that is not the end either. So it's going to get better. I remember one time in the Spokesman's Club that one of the young men got up and he was talking about a very difficult time, but he says, "You know, there's one thing that I always just have to remember is that this is going to pass. It's not going to stay this way. So let the good times roll, but be sure that you really appreciate it when they are." Story from Budapest about a man who went to the rabbi and he complained, "Life is unbearable. There are 9 of us living in one room. What can I do?" The rabbi answers, "Take your goat in the room with you." And the man was pretty incredulous. The rabbi said, Nope, do as I say and come back in a week." And so he said, okay, he would do that. So then, of course, after the week passed, the man comes back looking more distraught than ever. He says, "We can't stand it. That goat is filthy." And the rabbi then tells him, "Go home and let the goat out and then come back in a week." So he comes back the next week and he's all smiles. "Wow, life's beautiful. We enjoy every minute of it. Now that there's no goat, only the 9 of us." Yeah. What a difference. So, but being thankful in all situations isn't something that's, just a matter of having a positive attitude. It's more than simply just looking at the bright side. Yeah, it's difficult to be thankful when the doctor tells you that you have cancer, or that a loved one does, or when the teacher gives you a failing grade, or the boss cuts your salary, or when a friend dies. But sometimes, in the midst of really bad circumstances, we can find things to be thankful for. One of our traditional hymns for Thanksgiving is one that we sang today, earlier. It was written by a German pastor, Martin Rinkert. Actually, Tony may have known him because it was written back in the 1600s. Sorry, I had to do that. But it was written during the darkness of the 30 Years' War. And, you know, that's not one that I have much recollection of. I remember we heard about it in school, but frankly, the war is 100 Years' Wars and Reformations and, you know, all those kinds of things. By this time, not having been in school for well over 50 plus years, I don't remember those things very well. But anyway, it was a time when hundreds of people were dying. And Martin Rinkert is said to have buried 5,000 of his parishioners in 1 year, and an average of 15 a day. His parish was ravaged in this war. It was a death, economic disaster. And in that darkness, he sat down and wrote this table grace for his children. And remember, I'm not going to do the whole song, but it said, "Now thank we all our God with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things hath done, in whom his world rejoices, who from our mother's arms hath led us on our way with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today." Thankfulness to God is not simply a self-centered appreciation for the things God does for us or for the things that God gives us. What it is a God-centered appreciation for the faithfulness of God in our lives, because God is faithful to us. We have the assurance that God's concern for us goes far beyond the circumstances of our physical life and extends into his kingdom, where there won't be diseases, there won't be death, forest fires, extreme weather, and wars caused by misunderstood religions and man-made greed. Thankfulness to God is the realization that God knows all of us personally. And regardless of the circumstances of this life, there will be a place for us in the kingdom in a time that will never stop getting better. Happy Thanksgiving.